Buenas, buenas, buenas. I'm Vanessa, the host of Chicklit, a podcast where I share my unfiltered reviews of books that I think women, Latinas, and millennials would enjoy. Today's episode is actually going to be about me. I'm not going to be doing a book review. So thank you for listening. I only have like 250 followers on Instagram, so a lot of the listeners are my friends and family, and I love that. Hi, guys. How are you? Thanks for supporting me and my life decisions. I appreciate it. I've never once had someone close to me like doubt me. You know, when I left teaching 2 years ago now, no one like made me feel bad. No one was scared for me. Everyone had this like blind faith in me and that I was going to be okay. So thank you for everyone who gave me, you know, positive feedback and had faith in me and believed in me. Like, I love that. I'm super fortunate. You know, I always tell people that in person, and I get a lot of feedback that when other people have made different life decisions, like, people freak out about it and they make them feel bad and they plant like the seed of doubt. And I've never had that. So seriously, thank you guys for even listening to this podcast. Like that is so nice. You don't have to do that. You don't have to believe in me. You don't have to listen to my podcast. Like, you guys make me feel really good and make me feel like I can do it. So thank you. I appreciate you. And hopefully I do that to you too. Like, hopefully I empower you guys too. So let's get into why I'm doing this podcast. I actually had a few episodes of a podcast in 2018 with my then best friend and our mutual friend. And I just really enjoy like creating content. You know, I've had a MySpace, like I've had Twitter several times. I had Vine, I've had TikTok. I'm obsessed with Instagram. I make sure that the people that I follow are positive and uplifting and just empowering women. I like social media and I grew up with it and it's just part of my life. And so I think that it kind of makes sense that now that I have this opportunity to do something different with my life, to take advantage of it and do something that I enjoy, which is Instagram and also podcasting. I'm also an avid reader. You know, when I was a kid, I hated reading. I have a problem with authority. So when teachers would tell me to read this book, I think I would read it, but I just remember being super frustrated by it and like not enjoying it at all. And then when I was in college, I went to college for 6 years. I never read for fun. I was reading a lot for school. You know, you have all these classes, you have all these essays that you have to write. And so I just didn't have it in me. When I was a teacher, I also didn't have the capacity to read because my brain was just fried at the end of every single day. You make so many decisions as a teacher and like you just do so much physically and mentally that like when I would come home, I would literally like go eat something and like go to sleep by like 8 just to like wake up and do the whole thing all over again. But then COVID came. And I started a book club with my students. It was just like a bunch of kids who like weren't really doing anything, and so it was like might as well just read with my teacher. So it was me and 2 other teachers and like 6 other girls, and they could come if they wanted, and if they didn't want to, like it was fine. But it was just something nice to do during COVID. Like through Zoom, we would have our book club meetings. So that kind of started it too. And you know, as a teacher, I would always tell my students like, you know, you have to read. It's important to read. Like. And I felt like I needed to follow my own advice. And so after I left teaching in 2021, that's when it really started. I think in 2021, I read 15 books. And so last year's goal, 2022, I was like, let's do 30 books. And so this year's goal was to read 60 books. And I'm not on track to do that. I'm currently, you know, we're at the end of October and I've read 33 books. So I'm not meeting that goal. But that's a lot. That's a lot of books to read in a year. 33 books that I'm at, like, that's not nothing. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like there's so many good things that come with reading books in general. But for me, I like to read books that are focused on women. You can read from women in like ancient China, or like how I started reading was reading books from World War II. Reading, you know, All the Light I Cannot See. That's a little girl who was blind during World War II and she's trying to survive like the Nazis. And so like there's another book, I'm sure you guys have read it, The Nightingale, and that's all about how women were part of like the resistance and part of the solution. And it's just very empowering. There are some books that only talk about women struggling and it's very victim, like through a lens of victimhood. I don't like those books. I hate that. That's like one of my biggest critiques of books that are focused on women, where it's just like, oh, poor lady, her life sucked. And it's like, that's not real. When a woman is writing a book for women, about women, it's always, not always, not gonna overgeneralize, but it's oftentimes very empowering. It's like, here are these women in World War II. Here are these women in ancient China times when they're binding their feet. So everything is always, this is how hard it is to be a woman, but here's an entire book of how all these women come together to support each other and get through it and are solution based. I feel like it's very empowering to read other women who have done hard things, pretty much. When I read books about Latinas, I feel super connected to those characters, like whether they remind me of my mom or what I think my grandmother was like or what my experience would have been like had I grown up in Colombia. I just feel like a deeper connection when you have that representation piece. When you're reading these books, like there's so many common themes across generations, across cultures, across eras. So for me, I have several times been reading a book and I have felt like validated and seen by the characters. And I think that's super important. Currently, right now, there's 8 billion people on Earth. Like, there's no way that you're the only one that feels the way that you do. There's no way that you're the only one that has this opinion. And so when you're reading these books and you hear these women from, you know, the year 1000 sharing X, Y, and Z, you're like, yo, I feel that now in 2023. And it's just like very, I think it's important to feel validated and to feel seen and to feel like not alone. I think that reading books about other cultures are really important. So that's why I didn't want to just focus on Latinas, even though it's very like prominent, but I want to focus a lot on women in general across several cultures. I think that it humanizes them and you do feel connected to them because they're women. You do feel connected to them because of their experiences and similarities. It humanizes people from that culture. You know, if I read a book about a Korean town and it's like I want to go there, and like if I meet people from Korea, I'm like, oh, I know a little bit of your history based on this historical fiction book that I read. That's another reason why I want to do a diverse a wide range of books. So I'm able to do this podcast because number one, my mom is super supportive. So that just helps a lot, just knowing that no matter what decision I make ever in my life, I can always come back to my mom's house. Like that is a huge privilege and a luxury. And so I need to take advantage of it because so many people don't have that option. You know, there are people who are like married with kids and they're the sole provider, or maybe they're a single mom and they don't have their like mom or their parents to help them. And so I do have that. And so I feel like I have to take risks. I have to take advantage of it and make the most of it. So my cost of living is significantly like lower than the average 31-year-old's cost of living. And I think I make really good financial decisions. I have a nice savings. I take advantage of credit cards and I do balance transfers. So I'll charge a credit card. Because I don't know, I didn't mention this before, but when I left teaching, I was unemployed for 7 months. And so during those 7 months, I had savings and I was using my savings, but I was also using credit cards. And so I just opened a new credit card with no interest for the first like year and a half or something like that. And so once that year and a half passed, I opened another credit card and like did a balance transfer. And so I'm conscious of my money and I'm using credit cards to my advantage so that I can be unemployed after being extremely depressed as a teacher, so that I can focus on this podcast for the next few months. Again, it's because of my mom's help. I want to be clear that it's because of my mom's help and because I'm making good financial decisions as well. And then lastly, I'm moving to Texas. My boyfriend moved there in April. We've been together almost 5 years now. And so he already has the apartment, he has the bed, he has the kitchen stuff, he has a couch, it's all set. And so I would just need to cover whatever I want. You know, if I want to go out with my friends, I have to pay for it. If I want to go shopping, if I want to go visit New Jersey, like those are the expenses that I need to cover. And at home, we're doing a traditional setup, and I love that. Like I do have faith in our like relationship, and I have faith in him and myself to be able to manage. And so yeah, I just have the opportunity and I'm financially able to, and I have a cushion to fall back on. And so, yeah, I think that I'm super lucky and I need to take advantage and just focus on my podcast. And that's what brings me here to do my first video episode and read books, podcast, and connect with people. Also, if anyone wants to do an episode with me, like we should do it. I have two people already lined up. We just met on Instagram. And so we're looking to record in December. And then my good friend, we're also planning on recording, just reading a book and like talking about it. So if you're interested in that, maybe look out for those episodes. And if you like how we do it, feel free. With those episodes, what I plan on doing is like editing it completely and then sending it to the person so that they can approve. And then once they approve it, I'll post it. So yeah, so thank you guys like so much for listening. And yeah, let me know what you think. Bye.